guys, Eddie67716 here, and welcome to my redstone video. Now, in this redstone video, I went and studied, and I've rebuilt the entire Hermitcraft Season 7 button designed by Mumbo Jumbo, and in this episode, I'm going to show you how the entire system works. Now, what does the button actually do? It was a minigame that Mumbo Jumbo built, which will give you a color depending on what time you press the button. Now the button has a life meter that starts at grey, goes down through purple and blue and green, and then it gets to red. Now once it gets past red, the button would die and it would trigger TNT, which would blow the entire thing up. So if I press the button now, it will reload the entire system, and then I will be dispensed a purple block, which should come out. There we go. So how does the button work? Well, I should tell you. Well, instead of overcomplicating you with all that mumbo jumbo, get it, mumbo jumbo, I'm gonna go to a better way to show you, just by showing you what it is bare boned. Here I have a kind of bare bones skeleton of what the button basically is. It is an infinite loop of hoppers. So now if you see that I put one iron shovel into here, it's gonna loop through, and once it gets to these hoppers, the comparators will detect it and light these lamps. But if I lock this lever, it will lock this hopper, and the shovel is gonna stay here keeping this lamp lit up. Now, if I keep throwing these shovels into here, I can get the entire thing loaded up. So I'll just drag all these in, like so, and be back. Alright, now I've got this entire thing filled up. So there are 5 iron shovels in all of the main hoppers and then elsewhere. Now, if I unlock this for a little bit, then lock it, 2 or so items, 4 actually in this case, will eventually loop back here. So that is how the button works, sort of. This is linked to a timer, so every once in a while it will turn off and back on, taking an item with it, and then it will keep doing so. But you see, it needs 2 parts. The timer will run this part, but it needs to keep this hopper locked, so that all the items, instead of coming right back into here, will get queued up at this hopper until the button is pressed. So if I lock this hopper, and then I flick this for a little bit, you'll see that will eventually drain down. And now this item has nothing in it. This one's lost a little bit. But the items have queued up in these hoppers back here. Now, when the button is pressed, it will actually unlock this hopper, which will allow all the items back into here. And then this timer will be what depletes the hopper resources, and it will slowly drain all the items out. Now that only covers half of how the button works. The next half is actually like, how does it detect level? Well, now that I'm done with this little display, you can see that if I keep this on, it will completely drain the entire thing. Very slowly, sort of, and now it's completely drained, and all the items are queued up. Now, how this actually works is in the real button, there's comparators off here, which will have a redstone signal that would eventually get fed into a red coder or a decoder, which that is how it gives out items. But so if there are items in here, there would be redstone signal coming out. So if I place these like so, and then place a redstone signal around here, you can see there's nothing coming out of this anywhere. You see, if this was like in the real thing, it would actually probably toggle a NOT gate, which will either activate TNT or a dispenser with TNT. So, and otherwise, it will read a signal strength from here, probably through a comparator that goes under here, and then that could go to a decoding unit. So, depending on how much of the hoppers are filled, this signal strength will be different. Now, I gotta relock this hopper, I believe, so I'll put something here to be able to lock the hopper, and I will unload this to allow everything back in. So now you can see the whole thing is loaded up, and this is producing a big signal strength. But as the button is pressed, it Alright, got a way to lock this hopper again. So now, if I flick this on, which will lock this hopper, and then I flick this, it will turn this off, which will allow all the items to slowly drain out. And you will slowly see that this signal strength is going to get lower and lower and lower until it eventually will turn off. You see, that is what actually will run the decoder that gives you the output. Now, I think I've shown you everything I need to show you here. I'll just refuel it so you can see how it actually load. And then once this hopper gets right up to 5, then that lever can be turned off. So, yeah, there we go. So that is the core of how the button actually works. It's just reading the signal strength of a hopper to see if it has any items, and reading the signal strength of all the hoppers combined to see what color to give, because this will be connected to a decoder. Now I'm going to go back to the actual real button to show you what makes it slightly different, but also completely the same in some ways, to this. So this is an almost exact replica of the button. You see, I'll show you why it's slightly different later, but you can see it has basically the same front and the same output. Now what it has here is this is the loop I'm telling you about. And you see, this hopper is what's locked while the button depletes and everything ends up in here. So I've got diamond shovels in here because this is more exclusive, kind of. And over here, this is the torch that keeps the entire thing from depleting. But every time this etho hopper timer goes through its cycle, it will lower this, which will unlock it for just enough time to allow one item out of the hopper. And you can see here I've got the same kind of array that reads the output of all the hoppers together, and then it will feed this signal strength into this decoder unit. Now what a decoder unit does is only one of these torches will be on, depending on the signal strength. The higher it is, the higher up the torch is, but the lower it is, it will be this torch. So as you can see, I've got red in here to correspond to the button nearly dead, and then orange, and then yellow, and then green, and then blue, and then last of all purple. Now an interesting note about the timing system is that once it gets to, I believe that's green, the second green block, it will trigger this hopper system, which will actually cut off this hopper for a bit of time. Now if I unload this device just enough to get it to that torch, right soon, you'll see it slowly draining, and very soon that torch is gonna turn back on, and you can hear the decoder actually going through, but now this torch is on, which means it will unlock this hopper system, which will actually lock this hopper, so the timer is quite a bit different. However, it's only locked in very certain circumstances, that being when it's draining from this hopper to this hopper. So it's slightly different. Anyway, what that means is it means the timer will be going at a very snail pace, which means it will take even longer for the last few parts of the button to disload, which will really make it hard to get the last few items, such as yellow, orange, and red. Now, what does this all mean? Well, this decoder is, as I showed you, is what gives you the block. Now, if I go press this button now, what it will do is it will enable that piston, which will enable one of these, which will power one of these droppers, which will put the item into this system right here, and then it will trigger this comparator, which will give out an output, which will spit it out here. So if I put this item in here, it will get spat right out, because it's automatically programmed to do so. So that is how the button kind of works in a nutshell. There's only one last thing I need to show you, and it's the flux capacitor, which is what I will now on completely call comparator pulse extenders. This right here is what keeps this hopper unlocked. So once this whole thing's powered, it's going to keep this hopper unlocked enough for all the items to deplete, even if it's at the very end of red. So if I remove this torch, oops, I removed more than I wanted to, I can just restore that, like so. And is there a torch in here? I think there might be a torch in this system. Yep, thought as much. And once this gets all the way down to red, you can see that that torch is going off. And I'm gonna replace it once it gets to only one shovel. Now, perfect! Okay, so if I press this button, it is going to quickly charge this entire array of comparators, which I call a flux capacitor, and it's unlocked this hopper, and it's going to keep it unlocked roughly until this entire hopper is full, and then it's the right time, this capacitor will be completely discharged, and it will be ready for operation again, and it will be right back up to grey. So you can see it's on, but that's because there's almost always a shovel. But now that's turned off, you can see this entire thing's gone, and the timer's just gone off. So you can see this whole thing. This is what allows it to recharge. This capacitor, this is what keeps the items from coming back into the hoppers. This is the item that keeps the hoppers from depleting, and it's only controlled by this timer, which will go off depending on how many items you have in this hopper. And then you can kind of halve the speed by using this system to lock the hopper while there's an item in this hopper. And yeah, that's basically how this entire thing works in a nutshell. Now, there's one more thing I want to show you, and that is how I kind of improved this design. Now, this here is a complete replica of the button, but I've used an etho hopper pulse extender, which can do the exact same thing as the flux capacitor can in that design, but it's smaller and more compact. Nothing against how Mumbo did it. Mumbo did it the way he wanted to, and either he didn't know about this, or there's a flaw in this design which I don't know. And I almost forgot that, yeah, this decoder looks completely different in Mumbo's video, because when he built this design, he built it in 1.15, which had slightly different redstone stuff, which used a slightly more compact red coder. This is not meant to be that high, but yeah, in this design I had to actually flip this entire mechanism around to make enough room, and then I had to like try to keep it away from this piston to stop it from bud powering, and this is like this entire array. And if I can see now, the buttons are purple. If I press that now, you can see that it has power through here, which has released this, and it's going to end up being dispensed. So that is how the button works in a nutshell. Now, I'm not really going to tell you how to build this, because this is kind of all the redstone you need, and if you're watching, you can kind of do this. If you're not a professional redstoner and you really want to, comment, and I might consider making a tutorial on how to completely build this button. Anyway, this is going to be the end of this redstone video on how the button actually works. If you did enjoy this video, please leave a like. If you'd like to support my channel, please subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. This is 8677716, and goodbye.